Welcome to Ink and Magic, a podcast where we read and discuss the writing craft, world building, and romance of paranormal and fantasy novels.
If you love books with bite, set in worlds of magic and mayhem, then you're in the right place. My name's Nikisha Shanae. I go by an S.
And I'm Leslye. I write as L. Penelope. And welcome to the show.
Hey, Leslye. It's time to play in the world of passion with Nalini Singh.
Yeah, Play of Passion, Book 9 in the Side Changeling series is the topic of today's show.
In this book, we get another, we're back in SnowDancer.
Two wolves,
where we for a minute we were Human Sigh. That was a book previous to this, and then we had two Human Sighs, right? Pairings.
Oh, don't ask me to remember anything that happened before today.
Bonds of Justice was Human and J-Sigh, and then the one before that,
Dev and Katya was Human and Sigh. Yes.
Yeah. But for the Forgotten, he was a Forgotten.
Yes, but he's still human.
He's still human.
Because Max was not forgotten because he had no powers except for his shield, right?
Right, Max.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was just a mundane human.
But now we have two wolves, and this becomes another dominance challenge, in my opinion.
Right, because it's another female changeling. So they're relatively rare in the series so far. Yeah, we've got Indigo with Drew, who is Brenna's other brother.
Yes, the younger of the brothers, but he's not the youngest.
Yeah, he's the middle child, which maybe explains a lot. I didn't think about that when I was reading.
Think about that.
His whole personality screams middle child.
Yeah, he's very playful. Like we got some of Drew in Brenna's book and in Riley's book, but it's full Drew in this book, and he is very playful. He's very flirtatious, but he knows he wants Indigo, like from page 1.
From page 1, yes, which is also refreshing, because it's like there's none of this. There's a lot of other dancing happening, but from his perspective, she's the one, and he just has to figure out how to convince her that this is the reality that she has to accept.
So on page 1, they're on a hunt because Drew is the tracker of the pack, which I found interesting. Indy is a lieutenant. We've known that. We've met her before. I don't know if we knew that Drew was the tracker before.
I don't know that we knew that either. We saw Hawk give Drew some special assignment in a previous book where he has to go roam around. But yeah, I don't know that it was explicitly stated, or at least I don't recall it being explicitly stated that he was the tracker. But in chapter 1, his identity is obscured. It's another thing like what she did with Dorian when Dorian was the sniper and it was a different identity to him. It's somewhat similar that, but was that in his perspective? I don't remember whose POV it was.
I'm sure it was in Indy's perspective.
Okay. And it was just until the last sentence. That's when it's Andrew.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a cool little, intrigue to pull you forward through that first chapter, even though, if you've read the book description, you know who it's going to be about. So, and then we didn't mention the prologue, but the prologue was very short. Didn't feel as impactful. There wasn't any extra, we're not getting any epigraphs in this book. We're not getting these extra things that, we've had in previous books that give us some other story. This story is stripped down. It's almost bare bones. It is a romance. It is, these are all romances, but this is a romance. The primary conflict is whether these two people are going to get together. There is very little else going on in this book.
I wonder if that was, for lack of a better word, criticism?
Like feedback from...
Thank you.
Just her responding to feedback from previous books.
Yeah, because the last 2 books were heavy on the thriller aspect.
Heavy with the serial killers and the twisted, horrible deeds. And I wonder, did she read the reviews and she was like, okay, maybe we need a softer, gentler, just a romance, just 2 people trying to fall in love. And yeah, there's some side shenanigans happening, but there's no more serial killers in this book.
Yeah, there's no serial killers in this book.
And I appreciated that. I for one, appreciated the break, like having a respite, a chance to breathe and just luxuriate in a love story.
It's very fair. That is very fair. But the Indy and Drew are on a hunt, and that's dealt with. And then
they're hunting for a juvenile who is like gone rogue, who could be going rogue, and they bring him back, and yeah.
But it ends in a kiss, in a very heated kiss,
Hmm.
and she is not happy about it.
The kiss would have been fine, but apparently Drew goes too far. And this was a little bit like I felt like she was overreacting, and eventually Indy admits she was overreacting because she was okay with it. I think she thought that he needed it for pack reasons, for changeling reasons, because his blood was up. But then it became more romantic, and I guess Indy felt like he was expecting something from her. I wasn't actually sure what her problem.
I felt like she thought he just wanted sex,
Mm,
but then he went too far in domination because he clamped her neck,
hmm.
and she outranks him.
Right.
And so, and that kept coming up.
Oh yeah, that was the big thing. Like the big romantic conflict is another dominance thing. She's the most dominant woman. She's like the second or third most dominant person in the pack. Andrew's dominance, she says early on, it's kind of unknown, but she definitely outranks him. And she's afraid that being a more dominant woman in the relationship is going to end in disaster.
Yeah, which is why she doesn't want to do it. It became really interesting to me because there's, in addition to this being a dominance challenge, there's also a small subplot of age gap.
She's 4 years older, a little bit of age gap. And that goes into the dominance, I guess. It seems like, well, we find out later on that dominance might express itself over time. Like
Mm-hmm.
Andrew is getting more dominant as he gets older. I don't know if it's the same as for it seems like Indy has maxed out
Yeah,
and like other people, Riley, other characters have maxed out, but he hasn't yet.
which was very weird to me. And this was said at the end of the book, and it felt like, was this a throwaway line? I don't know, but it was put in there. But before we get to that, before we get to him growing in his dominance, his rank is really ambiguous. He is the tracker, so he is high in rank, but it's ambiguous because he kind of moves about, and it confuses her wolf. But also, it confuses her as a human woman because she is 4 years older than him, which I think was supposed to be a big play at age gap, is adding on to the conflict here.
Also, yeah, because he reads as a little immature. Like he's very fun, he's
Mhm.
playful, he's always joking, he's friendly with everybody. So that 4 years, I mean, 4 years when you're in your 30s and 20s and 30s is can be kind of significant. When you're older, it's different, but it's not like huge age gap. Like there's 15, 20 years between them, and they can't relate. They don't listen to the same music or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. It
But
wasn't that.
yeah, she's a lieutenant. He's not a lieutenant, but yeah, his rank and because he's a tracker, and that also means if a wolf goes rogue, he might have to put them down.
Which he's
He
had to do once.
yeah, he has to be a little bit outside of the normal hierarchy.
So, because I like to study things, I spent some time studying age gaps because my favorite age gap author, we're going to jump outside of side changes for just a second. My favorite age gap author is Janet Aston of
Jane
the
Austen is
Cafe
lovely.
series.
Yeah,
And that's serious age gap. Like they're not the same generation.
yeah.
Just if you haven't read a Janet Aston, her debut book was called Wrong because it is about a college student. She's like a college senior. She's going to be graduating soon. She works at a cafe, and every day this older man comes in and orders a coffee, and she's totally crushing on him. But she's like, yeah, he's older, and she has a boyfriend, so she's gonna go. And she's like, it's now the time because she's a virgin. She's like, it's time. I'm gonna lose my cherry with my boyfriend. So she's responsible, and she goes to the student clinic to get an exam. And guess who the OBGYN is?
Her crush.
It's so wrong, but it is so good.
It's a great book. I mean, yes, these premises, romance reasons. We just, yes, you can date your OBGYN, of course, in romance
And
landia.
oh, I want to spoil something that happened. I'm not gonna. Just read the book. Just read the book because the worst thing that you can think to happen while you're having an exam happens to this woman, and it's so wrong. Anyway, because I've read this book like a million
I
times,
see.
I love it so much. I saw some patterns, and I read all the. I think I've read every Jana Aston book, and
Oh,
she
yeah.
does age gap a lot. And here are the patterns that I saw: that there's an initial attraction, which you get right off the bat with Andrew and Indy. And a lot of times the older person in the relationship, which is usually the guy, but
Mhm.
it's Indy in this case, but the older person denies the attraction and thinks that it's inappropriate, which Indy totally does.
Mhm.
Then um they usually don't take the younger person seriously, which Indy totally does. But at some point they give into the attraction. And then I felt like there's another beat where the friends and family find out about the relationship and it could go either way. And we'll talk about what happened with Indy and Andrew in just a second. But then there's some kind of a plot point where the age gap becomes an issue. And finally, everybody, including themselves, realizes that there's no one better for them, for that other person.
Mhm.
And everybody is happily ever after. So after this happens, and Indy is mad at Andrew for pushing too far in that kiss.
Mhm.
She's like, we're not friends anymore. I'm mad at you. And Andrew's like, I need to fix this because I think she's the one.
Right.
And there's this whole so there's an adhesion point. There's an adhesion point where Hawk tells them you need to take the juvenile. Some of the juveniles are having some issues. You two need to take them on basically on a camping trip. Why not? So we know that that's coming, but before that comes, there's a couple of chapters where Indy and Drew are separated and they're just talking to family and friends.
Yeah. And also, Riaz comes back to town
Mm-hmm.
early on, and Riaz is Indy's ex-lover. He's also a lieutenant in the pack. He's been away, he's been traveling or something like that. So there's jealousy. And Indy's like, oh, this guy's way more appropriate. He's age appropriate, his dominance appropriate. He is this third option or the second option. But yeah, we have Drew going to Judd for advice,
Mm-hmm.
and I- Indy goes to Hawk.
She also goes to her mom, who's submissive.
Right, right. She's a maternal female.
Mm-hmm.
And so she doesn't quite understand, but and we're slowly seeing, I don't know, we don't really get the wound for this particular issue of Indies until later with Adria,
Yeah,
her aunt,
her
her
aunt.
like aunt who's close in age to her.
Yeah.
But I think we get like a little hint that there's a reason other than just the surface that, Indy has seen this go wrong with a more dominant female. And
Right. So with the aunt, though,
Mhm.
what we see is the aunt and her. I don't know that they were mated.
They weren't. They specifically said her lover or her
Her
partner.
lover,
Yeah.
and it was passive aggressive times 1,000. The way that he talked to her.
Right. And no wonder, I mean, yeah, you can see how, seeing this, they're probably 5 years apart or something, but this aunt who has been with this man for like a decade,
Mm-hmm.
um,
On and
and
off.
was it on and off? I felt
I
like they were
remember reading on and off.
okay. And just seeing why she's putting up with this, and Adria is her personality is, I guess, being overshown, or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a bad situation, and that has just affected Indy on a basic level.
Yeah.
Also, her younger sister, Indy's younger sister, being sick, made her more, I guess, protective or more independent-minded. There's all
Mm-hmm.
these different kind of familial backstory things that go
Mm-hmm.
into character development, which was really, well done character development that says, it's not just the thing that Indy thinks it is. There's a deep roots behind this that is keeping her from moving forward.
So we get that backstory. We get those familial and friendly ties. And then Indy and Drew are forced into proximity in the
We love a
mountains.
good forced proximity.
Right? That was my favorite trope. They're forced with these kids, and they there's only one bed in the sense that there's only one tent for them.
Only one tent.
Only one tent.
I love it.
And they have to they basically start to make up.
Yeah. They they see each other, they get to play as wolves. Is that when they
Mhm.
do that? Um, and she kind of forgives. Oh no, what happens is Hawk comes and brings Maria. So
Oh
there's another
yeah.
option. So Hawk was gonna meet them and, spend some time with the kids, and I guess he brings another soldier who's this
Maria
young
of the
woman.
big breasts.
And Maria just comes out the gate flirting hard with
Yeah.
Drew. And Indy is like, uh-uh. She's so mad. She's big mad, even though she hasn't quite forgiven him yet. But yeah, she's having feelings. And Drew is very empathic. He's the person people go to
Yeah.
when they have issues, and he realizes, okay, something's up with Maria. This is not just this flirtation. I mean, he knows Indy's jealous, but he still takes her away to talk to Maria, finds out she's heartbroken, tries to comfort her. And then Indy, of course, throws his sleeping bag out the tent. It's like, you can't sleep in here after coming.
Because she assumes that he's gonna need it because he's sleeping with this other woman.
Yeah. Like, she's not doing a good job of hiding her feelings.
Yeah, no.
She totally lashes out.
She does.
But yeah. And then, of course, they find these strange objects in
Yeah, the
the
kids
forest.
find something, and I think they smell a whiff of metal on them, so it's they postulate that it's from the Psy.
Mhm. And this is the only external conflict, like, subplot, it starts building. We've seen a scene with, like, Henry, I think Henry and, his wife,
Yeah, the
Donna.
Scots.
Yeah.
We see that the Scots are trying to take their goal in this book is to take down Hawk and Lucas
Mhm.
in order to destabilize Nikita's territory, because they are intent on, it's funny, they're intent on becoming the council with nobody else, and then
Mhm.
they both have plans to kill each other.
Right?
Marriage, man. That's what Psy marriage will do for you. We kind of skipped a bit, Leslye, because Indy and Riaz, they go on a date after we get back from the camping. And when that happens, and Drew thinks that I have lost her, Drew asks Hawk, can I have a couple of days? Because I'm not good.
Okay, but wait, before that. So after the Maria thing, when they're still camping, they make up. That's when they make up. And they share a tent, and she kisses him, and they fake being asleep. They sleep in each other's arms. And so he's faking sleep. It's like they come together again. So it's one of those 2 steps forward, 1 step back thing.
Yeah.
And then they find the camp stuff. Oh no, that was before Maria. I'm sorry. I'm all out of order because
It's
this book,
okay. This stuff happens.
there's so much, not a lot happens, but like between them, there's all these different steps, and there's all these different, like, close calls and comeback. So yeah, all right. Then after that, she freaks out. Yeah, she goes on a date with Riaz. Drew freaks out. He leaves.
He does. And Drew, we're coming back for you. But it was really interesting to me, Riaz's story, which is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And we learn that Riaz, he's found his mate.
But
dun dun dun,
dun,
she is married
to a
so
good
she's
man.
married.
You've got a
She's
Casablanca
married,
situation.
right?
She's married to someone who is a good husband, not her mate, but just a good man.
So, like, what do you do? And
yeah, I don't remember Riaz's book, so we'll find out soon.
I have it as read.
Me too.
What is wrong with that?
No.
That's what I want to know. I want to know. See, this people, I hear like authors talking about, don't write your reviews on Goodreads because then people will come back. And I'm like, no. Me as a person comes back and I don't remember anything about writing that review, about that book, or anything. So Goodreads has really become a time capsule to me. Because I'm like,
yeah.
I read that? I did? That's what I thought? So no, I don't remember. I'm really looking forward to Riaz's story right now because I'm very interested to see how Nalini Singh is going to handle someone who has said, because actually she said this with Hawk too. She was very ambiguous about it
because they were kids.
They were kids.
So we know that there's lots of room for misinterpretation when you're a child. But Riaz is a grown ass man.
Yeah,
so he should be able to understand when he's found his mate. And how is that going to work?
Drew, I promise we're coming back to you. But you know what else gets seeded in this story at least 3 times? Nalini Singh is prepping us for Hawk and Sienna.
Oh yeah, big time. And yeah, it's kind of, I mean, this was like, I was waiting for Hawk's book for so long. I remember that.
The mouth.
Yes. Because like Sienna comes in, we see Hawk's reaction. Everybody else knows how he feels.
Except her.
Except her, probably. Yeah. And then one of them, Riley or Riaz, says that, oh, she hasn't slept with Kit. Because, she's been dating Kit, the leopard.
I think it was Indigo.
Somebody tells him.
Yeah, somebody says that. Like,
yeah.
It will be apparent, which is interesting.
Lots of seeds. Hawk is such an interesting character. I guess we should wait for Hawk to talk more about Hawk.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to reread that. I remember not feeling like, I remember getting to that book with so much excitement and then reading and like, huh.
It's hard when you have such anticipation.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know that anything can match, like, any mere mortal's
it's
words can match the
hard.
anticipation that you have when you've been waiting for something for years
Yeah,
at some point.
yeah.
So, rereading it sometimes when you come back fresh 10,
Mhm.
15 years later, you can appreciate the things that you didn't before. That's why I'm very excited to read it too, again.
So Drew has gone off by himself to take some time to get over the fact that he believes Indy has chosen Riaz. Indy goes on that date with Riaz, and they both realize, yeah, this isn't going to work out. So Indy realizes, huh, I not only that, but she doesn't feel the same tingles
Mhm.
with Riaz or any other man that she felt with Drew. So she decides, I'm going to give this a good try.
Yeah.
And she goes after Drew.
Yeah, and I think that who tells her where he is? Is it Hawk
Hawk,
or Judd? Okay.
Hawk, Matchmaker 101, Hawk,
Hawk's got his fingers in all the pies.
all the pies. And so Indy finds him, and Drew, it's like a Mr. Darcy scene because Drew's in the water and he's like looking at her out of the water. He comes out of the water,
Oh, right, yes.
right?
She dives in. Like, he sees her, and he keeps swimming, and she dives in to go get him. Um, yeah, and then they eventually have sex. It's a great sex scene because 'cause we've been waiting for it for such a long time. There's a lot of tension and buildup.
Right? And what I took away from their whole time together is that she marks him
Mm,
in a visible place on his cheek where everybody can see it. And there's discussion about, can Drew handle being with a woman who doesn't need his protection
right.
and who would balk if he tried to protect her, which
So
becomes a plot point.
it's similar to Mercy, but I think it's still a bit different just because their backgrounds and their motivations are a little different.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think anytime you have this dominant female, that's going to be an issue in the romance. And she feels well, I mean, well, Mercy and Riley, they weren't sure who was more dominant. They were both very equal. So that was also a difference. This one, we know that Indy is a bit more,
Mhm.
but still, Andrew's no slouch. He's the tracker. Like he's
Yeah.
got a lot going for him in
Yeah.
terms of the dominance. So it's really, yeah, that she's a lieutenant. She outranks him, and she's still scared that he won't accept it, and that what will happen to her if she's with someone, if she loves someone who doesn't accept her dominance, like she's seen with her aunt.
And the first test comes real quick. They find they see Psy in their mountains
Right.
planning,
Burying something. Yeah.
yeah, planning one of those things. And then they teleport out before they can get them. And so they call Dorian and
And
Brenna, I
Brenna.
think, to come and investigate. And Indy tells them to split up. And she goes with Dorian and she sends Drew with Brenna. And she waits to see if he balks, and she sees it, but he tamps it down. And she's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. She doesn't appreciate it. Like he doesn't actually say anything, but he like reacts and then
Mhm.
catches himself.
Mhm.
So, you see he's trying, but she's still like, mm. And that's when they find like all of these transmitter devices. They don't know exactly what they're for, but they're all through
Mhm.
the woods, their territory. And Drew meets with Max. Oh, we bring back Max for some reason because he's like asking about Nikita. He's got somehow he has a connection with Max.
Yeah, they want to figure out like who is doing this. Could
Mhm.
it be Nikita double crossing them? Because they don't know. We know it's Henry Scott,
Right. They don't know
but
yet.
they don't know it yet. And that happened a lot in this book where we knew things
Right.
that the characters didn't
That's
know,
always
and that's
fun.
always so much fun.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. So Max comes in and basically vouches for Nikita.
Yeah. I mean, and then this couple has a lot of sex over the next couple chapters. Ah.
They do. Um, and there's another challenge, unfortunately, and he's about to fail this one. So, there
Right.
is a changeling woman that falls down some
Sort of
kind of
adolescence. She's a girl. Yeah.
okay, and she
She falls
falls
off a cliff.
off a cliff. And Drew and Indy argue over who should go and get her.
Right. And yeah, I mean, I think they both make good points, but she views it as a dominance challenge. She's trying to, this is a very time sensitive situation. This girl could be very badly hurt. He's the better climber, but yeah. And she was about to agree with him and he pushed
Yep.
her far.
Yep.
And that's it for her. She's like, I can't.
Not only that, then Hawk comes out and
Right.
sees them. And Hawk basically puts her in her place. So she's had her boyfriend basically calling her out. And then she has her boss calling her out all in public. I mean, I understand, girlfriend.
Yes.
That was a lot.
Yes, that was a lot. And yes. And Hawk calls her out because he realizes, what's happening here. Like if it had been someone else, it would have gone down differently. But she was about to make the quote unquote right decision, and then Andrew still pushed.
And we're in her head. So we know, again, the reader knows that she's like, yeah, you know what? He's right. She's about to open her mouth.
Right. But he just, Drew, you were so close.
And Hawk, both of them.
Well, I mean, I think Hawk was right because, but yeah, whatever. It did not work out well.
It did not work out well. So she fears that he's going to, it's like her worst nightmare is confirmed. He challenged her in public.
Right.
And she's like, he's going to keep doing this. This is going to keep happening.
And
he knows he screwed up.
Yes, he realizes it. And he makes a plan to do the most to get her back. And she stands her ground for, I think it's like a couple weeks, at least a week. It was a while. But sometimes you just have to make him work for it, like.
He wooed her with roses and chocolate. Like, hey, like I was like, girl, it's chocolate. Take the chocolate.
And the whole pack is kind of on his side. They're like, yes, give him. She's like, traitors.
Exactly. But then, so the last thing that he does is he says, Indy, please come to dinner with me because it's a farewell dinner because I'm leaving. Yeah, right.
Of course you are.
Yeah. But even though she knows or she feels that this is a ploy, because he decides, he's like, I want to be with you. And I think the best way for this to happen is for me to move to another pack. And she's like, you're right. But it also makes her realize, yeah, my anger has calmed down. I'm not ready to lose you. Let's give this another try.
Yeah. And somewhere around there, they realize that they're mated. The mating bond has started. This other wolf, Matthias, comes in and is, joking around, teasing them. And Drew loses it. And this guy's way bigger than him. And he picks a fight with him. And Matthias is like, oh, I didn't know, man. Sorry. And he's like, what? And it's like, oh, the mating bond has started.
Yeah. And I was very interested in how it talks about where Drew puts the mating mark on Indy. And Hawk sees that it was a very precise mark. And it's a clean mark, meaning that she didn't struggle.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That meant a lot, that this dominant female didn't struggle as her mate marked her.
Yeah. So long as this is happening, we're also getting glimpses of Nikita and Anthony, Faith's father, forming an alliance. And, they're concerned about Henry and what's happening. And they decide we don't know exactly what's happening. We see them talking and working together, which is nice. We got the parents of some of our characters getting it together in terms of on the side.
True. And the Scots, at some point, I can't remember exactly when, but they know that they need to take down not only Hawk, but Lucas and Sasha. They want to completely destabilize everything in order to get Nikita. And also they want to take out Faith too. They're like, we need to take out the alphas and we need to take out the defectors.
Okay, yeah. And he orders the assassinations. So, they know that that the changelings have found their equipment, the cameras in the trees, and all the other stuff. And so they're like, okay, now we've lost our advantage, but we're still going to strike. So we know that the big battle is coming.
It is an intense battle. And you could see the changelings thinking it through because they knew, they were like, we're dealing with Psy. They don't just think one-dimensionally. So they know that the Psy have come into at one particular point, and they know that if the Psy don't see Hawk with them,
Oh,
that
yeah.
they might not be able to take the Psy down. Like they might just leave. So Hawk decides no. Number one, because the Psy might leave, but number two, what is it gonna look like? Hawk is thinking, if I'm not out front with my soldiers, what is it going to look like to my pack? No, I'm not staying behind. I'm coming with you. So this was really great of Nalini Singh because we're all focused on Hawk. Like, oh my gosh, we have to protect him. Nothing can happen to him. And who goes down?
Well, Drew goes down protecting Hawk. He
Yeah.
like leaps in front of a bullet. The second
Yeah.
time he's leaped in front of a
Second
bullet
time.
for somebody. Yes.
And before this, Judd is down.
He's flamed out because he's been teleporting too much. Yeah. So the person who saved him before can't save him again.
So again, Nalini Singh, she's just playing chess with us. There's this beautiful scene between Judd and Brenna, where Judd comes back and Brenna can see, she's like, you're exhausted. Let me get you home. And she showers him and she puts him to bed, and it's all so sweet. And then the battle happens.
Right. Yeah. And he's just out for the count. But also before this, the mating bond started, but Indy hasn't accepted it yet. She still has, she knows she wants to at a certain point. She's getting there. And then, of course, the battle happens before she has a chance to. So when Drew is shot, the mating bond isn't complete, which also hurts him. So it's a really bad, like they have these bullets, like exploding hollow point or whatever kind of bullets that go everywhere and cause a lot of damage. And it's touch and go there, of course.
But she
But
holds him.
she holds him. And Hawk is like, hold him here. And I think I was listening to it. So I was like, I didn't get the significance for a few sentences or a few paragraphs because he meant inside. He meant the mating bond. I thought she was like, put pressure on the wound like you always see. But I think it meant hold him, pointing to his heart, hold him here, accept the mating bond, because you can, by force of will, keep your mate alive, which is something that we've seen kind of before, but I don't know if it was ever stated exactly in this way. Like she is just putting all of her energy into keeping him alive until the healer Lara can come and help him out.
And she does.
Oh, she does, of course, because she had wanted to before, and she was waiting for the right time, and the battle happened. So I was like, always just accept the mating bond whenever you. You never know what's happening tomorrow. We're not promised tomorrow, so
we are not. And that is pretty much the love story. I do want to back up because, again, one of the things that Nalini Singh that was fun in this book is, again, she had the reader knowing more than everybody else. So one of the ways that they found all of the Psy surveillance cameras and things is they called in Dev, and Hawk doesn't know like what Dev's doing to find all this stuff, because they had called in the leopards, and a lot of the leopard young ones, they had, because the wolves were looking down on the ground because they found them buried. And then they brought in the leopards, and the leopards were looking up in the trees, and the leopards found a lot more, but they're like, we need to find them all. And Lucas is like, I got a guy. And Dev comes in, and Hawk's like, what are you doing? And Hawk doesn't know, but we know that Dev has an affinity with Nettle, and that's how he was finding all this stuff.
Yeah, and he keeps it secret, so I don't think he ever tells them. But it's like, I can do this. And he spent a week, finding every single camera throughout the forest, which was amazing. But it's nice, like you check in with these characters, and their powers are helpful, and everyone's connections and networking, and it's so helpful. It's a warm feeling.
It was a warm feeling, and the biggest warm feeling I found at the end of this book, where everybody comes together. The wolves are in a conference room, along with the leopards in a conference room, along with Nikita and Anthony, Faith's dad. They are all together because they're like, they're coming for us. What are we going to do?
It's this big, that scene in the movie where everyone's together, like negotiating how they're going to work together. Now we know Nikita has literally tried to kill these people more than once in previous books. Anthony's been pretty cool most of the time. But and we see Anthony's other son, Faith's brother, who is mentioned.
Yes.
And I wonder, is he gonna? I don't know.
I don't know
in the future, but like the fact that he was specifically mentioned, maybe it's just a connection. Like, oh, he's connected with his children. He's bringing them into the fold. He's not making the mistake he'd made before. Like you see his change. Was Max and Sophia there? I think they're there
Yep, Max
too.
and Sophia were there.
Faith was not there, was she? Because I remember thinking it doesn't matter.
If she was there, she wasn't mentioned.
Yeah, but it was just a really interesting, okay, how are they going to work together?
Mhm.
How are they going to trust each other, and what is coming down the pike? Also, Anthony mentions that all of his FSI have seen the same vision with no alternate futures of blood and death and fire. And we're like, uh-oh.
So, yes, so they have seen that, and Nikita also mentions, because one of the other minor plot points in this book, which we saw in the previous book, was that Nikita she was allowing in Psy who were defective,
Yeah, it's like a safe space for them.
and a lot of Psy were coming into the city
Yeah.
because they felt like this was a safe haven,
Hmm.
which the Scots saw, and the Scots wanted they wanted Psy to go back and get rehabilitated.
Yeah, Henry's in charge of Pure Psi, their sort of racist, nationalistic, or whatever
Yeah,
organization.
yeah,
Yeah, and because Nikita did not order Sophia's rehabilitation, other Psi are like, oh, if I go there and I'm defective, she's not going to force me to be rehabilitated. So this has become like a neutral ground, or just a safe place for them to
mhm.
live.
They also, especially Nikita, has a discussion. She believes that silence is going to fall,
Hmm.
but she says it cannot happen fast.
Right.
It
It's
has to
too much
happen
destruction.
slowly.
And everybody probably agrees with that. Like everybody knows if you take it away tomorrow, it's just, a bloodbath. So
Mhm.
what is the path towards silence falling? Or if it's going to fall naturally anyway, how do we prepare?
Yeah. So it's like you have the Scots holding on to silence, and you have Nikita and Anthony, and they believe that they can bring in Caleb. They're not sure about Ming.
They're not sure. Are they sure about Caleb? Well, Caleb, they know that Caleb won't be on a sinking ship. I think that's what she says.
Mhm.
But they haven't
Mhm.
contacted Caleb
They
because,
haven't, but she thinks that
yeah.
she can get him.
Hmm.
So you see the battle lines clearly drawn.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have seen like what side outside of silence, like you saw their suffering. So
Hmm.
this isn't just black and white.
Right,
This
right.
is a serious battle of how is this going to happen.
Yeah. And yeah, that whole foreboding that blood and death and fire is coming. It's not going to be pretty.
It's not going to be pretty. And I don't think we're going to have to deal with it in the next book because it's Hawk and Sienna and they have a lot to deal with, and true age gap in
This,
this book.
that is an actual age gap for real, for real. Like double. Like, I know, yes, we've been told it's Hawk's age. I have to look it up again. But yeah, Sienna is 18 at this point, or
Or
close
19.
to 19. Yeah. 19 is probably better.
Yeah. I think in her book, I think she's 20.
Oh, okay. I don't obviously remember that, but
I know.
we will find out soon.
Yeah, we will find out very soon, like in 2 weeks. So that was Play of Passion. Straight up romance.
Yeah, and whether or not it was based on other people's feedback, or maybe she was tired of just writing these twisted, horrible murderers, like, I can imagine as a writer, she needed a little break too, just like the readers did. Um, I don't remember the external conflict of the next book, but that's a lot of interpersonal romantic conflict, so I wouldn't expect, who knows, we'll see. But yeah, sometimes you need that calm before the storm. Pacing wise, when you're pacing a novel and pacing a series, you need to take us high and then calm us back down a little bit, and that's what this one did,
That is what this one did.
while still connecting us with the larger plot.
Because the bomb dropped at the end, literally, was a major turning point in
Yeah.
the series.
Other things we didn't mention was Judd at one point meets with Father Xavier about some Psy who've joined the church, and like one woman was missing and had been, rehabilitated and maybe killed or maybe not, but she was gone either way. And the ghost shows up briefly in the shadows. I don't remember exactly why, but yeah, it was just something there is happening. Like Psy going to church was a thing that I didn't expect on the bingo card. So
But yes. So we hope that you guys are getting ready and you're reading Kiss of Snow, and you can join us on that. But in the meantime, Leslye, anything that you are reading or watching that you are absolutely loving or even hating, you need to talk
Ooh.
about it.
Well, let's see. I am binging Peaky Blinders because somebody told me I had to watch it.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I finished the first season. I haven't dived any further into the second season
Oh,
yet.
you haven't?
I was last night I was watching something else. So Peaky Blinders, very good show. It's a lot. I need to like pace myself.
What is it about for those of us who have not seen it?
So it's the first season is 1919. It's right after World War I, and in England, in Birmingham, where we've got this gang. The Peaky Blinders is the name of the gang, and it's these three brothers and their sister and their aunt, and they kind of run things in this area. And so, yeah, it's all about this. The main character is played by Cillian Murphy, who we love, and who is always the smartest man in the room, generally.
Yes.
But it's human. There's betrayal, there's heartbreak, there's love that we're not sure is going to last too long because of the way these people live. But it is a really interesting show. It's 3D chess. You know, you can see when you see his plan unfurling and how you find out what you didn't know about what was going on the whole time. You're like, wow, I love it. It's just things unfolding all the time. So I'm a little nervous about the future. I don't
Leslye,
know.
no, Leslye, like I quit Game of Thrones after Father's Day.
You actually
So
quit. You never watched the rest?
no, no,
Wow.
no, no.
See, I'm a completionist, so
Mm-mm.
I know something bad is coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably still watch to the end, and we'll see how it goes.
I told Leslye I quit in season 3. Peaky Blind. I obsessively binged
She was
this show.
texting like every 10 minutes. Oh my God.
Yes, I was in it.
And
I
then
was
she's done.
in it. And then basically a Father's Day type thing happened, and I was like, nope. Thank you very much for the entertainment. This will end the way that I want it to end. Even though I had friends in England, and I was like, tell me exactly what happened. And they did. My friend's husband was like, this happened, and then this happened, and this happened, and this happened. I was like, that's brilliant. No, I don't need to watch it.
Wow. I do that with romance novels. I might have done that yesterday. I was reading a book. I like Susan Stoker, and her latest one I think, is Deserving Lara. And the couple has gotten together, and there's still like 40% of the book left.
Oh my
And I'm
god,
just like,
no.
I feel like I might be done. Like this is my ending. I don't need to find the serial killers coming for her, and I don't need to know I'm sure he's not going to get her
I
because
want to talk. I'm waiting to do an episode where we talk about that, like books that traumatize us, like around 40%, and we're like, we're good. But in the sense of we will recommend it because it was good, but we're
yeah.
like, we don't want to go through anymore.
Yeah, like sometimes I'm just tired, you know? It's like I wanted this couple to get together and they did. And I know there's trials and tribulations ahead, but I'm fine with where they are right now.
Courtney Milan has done that to me, but I've finished the book. Whiteout. Remember that book, that Alaska book?
Oh yeah, Adriana Anders.
Couldn't handle it.
Oh.
I couldn't handle it. It was so good, but my heart was just beating. I couldn't handle it. They got to a safe space, and I was like, "That's your happily ever after."
Yes.
Thank you.
I have retconned it. The killer just died in the snow somewhere. I don't know.
I know that they survived. It was a true romance. I know they survived, but no, I'm good.
Do I have to get all the way there?
I'm good. And then another one that I finished was Dragos's book.
Thea Anderson.
Dragonbound. Oh, that's one of my favorite books. I can never remember names. But that one, the couple gets together early, and you're like, you're looking at that percentage, and you're like, what are you gonna do? But that was a really, really, really good book. Anyway.
So what are you watching or liking or disliking right now, Inez?
So I bugged Leslye the other day to help me because I'm studying rom-coms. And Michael Haig, I don't know why I keep wanting to call him Roger, but Michael Haig talks about in rom-coms how there's a deception and a revelation. And then I wanted to further categorize that because, you know, that's what I do in my spare time. And I came up with this notion of what kind of deceptions are there. And Leslye kind of poked it with a stick. Thank you, because I asked her to poke it with a stick. And I think that there's 4 types of deceptions. Well, we might talk about this at a later date. But as I'm continuing to poke it with a stick, one of the movies that I was having trouble categorizing was Leap Year, which is one of
Mm.
Leslie's favorites.
Yay, leap year.
And so I don't remember watching this movie all the way through. I remember bits and pieces of it.
I watched every year.
I know. And I watched it. It is a straight up Grumpy Sunshine.
Yes. Well, is she sunshine? She's type A. I could get there. It's not 100% grumpy
Negative
sunshine for me.
positive.
She's okay, negative positive. She is more trying to be a positive person. He's very grumpy. He is definitely grumpy. Whether she is pure sunshine, I'm on the fence.
Mm-hmm. But she's definitely
It's opposite.
toxic positivity.
Toxic positivity. I like that. Grumpy toxic sunshine. Opposites attract.
Very much opposites attract. And because I thought that opposites attract and like fake dating were like two separate things, but I think that they might be under the same house. Anyway, so I was watching that and I just had a lot of really interesting revelations because it wasn't following the plan that I set out for it.
I'm sorry.
It's annoying when stories do that. But because it's still a romantic comedy, and I was like, I'm still arguing with Leslye over what exactly is the deception in it. And I think the deception, because Leslye is high, you're high input, and you love the research. What is that one called? Is that high input?
I'm a learner.
Learner.
Okay. Learner, yeah.
So of course Leslye sends me an article about how a lot of rom-coms are based on Shakespeare. Mm-hmm. And one of their categories was a merry war, where lovers were pretended or even believed that they hated each other. Mm-hmm. They were not into each other, but it's clear they were obsessed with each other. And that was what this book was.
And that is basically all hate enemies to lovers.
Yep.
I mean, maybe not all, but the ones I like Hating Game is also that. They're pretending because they're pretending with themselves and with each other that they're not into each other.
Yep.
Leap Year, absolutely.
Harry Met Sally.
Okay.
Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A merry war.
It's a merry war. So today I'm going to be watching more rom-coms and trying to further quantify this idea of a merry war. And that's how I'm spending my day. Yay.
Well, watching rom-coms is never a bad way to spend a day. Although, since we've had that conversation about rom-coms and deceptions, I'm like, I don't like being deceived. I don't like deceptions. It's kind of like, I have to forget that for me to enjoy certain things now, because I don't know.
I think structurally, because Mr. Haig, the way that I interpreted his breakdown of a rom-com is it's the deception and trying to hold on to deception and hide the deception that makes things funny. Mm-hmm. So she doesn't want him to know that she's developing feelings for him. Mm-hmm. That's where the funny comes from. He doesn't want her to know that he's really not this mean. He has reasons, but he doesn't want his facade to be broken because he's afraid to get hurt again. Yeah. So he's keeping this deception going until it comes crumbling down.
I think that, okay, that's good. That helps, because I think modern rom-coms are starting to deconstruct that in a way that is not as heartwarming, maybe. And I watched one last night, which I did enjoy, but it made me very uncomfortable. It was called The Other Zoe. Lots of deception. It's like, the premise is, the main character's name is Zoe, and this guy who she doesn't really like, she accidentally causes him to get a concussion, get hit by a car. When he wakes up, he's dating someone else named Zoe. He thinks that this Zoe is his girlfriend. The doctor's like, don't upset him in any way because it could worsen his condition. So she keeps up with this ruse that she's his girlfriend. Also, his cousin is a person that she really does like. So it's like part triangle, part mean deception. Like, she deceives his entire family. She's pretending that she's his girlfriend. And when the deception is kind of like that, when it's maybe not mean-spirited, but it's kind of awful, it doesn't make you feel good,
Yeah, we need to have a episode just on rom-coms.
I think so, definitely. This
has gone on for a few minutes.
Stay tuned. We're whetting the audience's appetite for our future discussion on this.
Exactly. So Guys, thank you so much for joining us. And please let us know what you think about this episode. You can leave a comment on YouTube with your thoughts on the episode. You can share it with a friend who loves romance and rom-coms. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify.
And you can always check out our book schedule on our website, inkandmagic.net, so that you can read along with us for Side Changeling and beyond. And we will see you the next time. Bye.
Bye.